lives, working on the bliss point, getting people to manipulating people's natural evolutionary urges. So for example, for millions of years, something sweet meant you just stumbled across a blueberry bush, right? And so we evolved to say, blueberry bush, quick, ramp up your appetite, start eating like crazy before the saber-toothed tiger gets you or something, or someone else comes and finds your blueberry bush. And so there's this whole dopaminergic system, this dopamine pleasure center, where sweetness on the tongue is good because we knew, these are some of the healthiest foods. What's sweet out in nature? Sweet potatoes, berries, fruit, healthy foods, right? And so, but now the industry uses that natural, healthy urge against us, right? The ripest peach in the world is not as sweet as Fruit Loops, right? And so, it can distort those natural, same thing with salt, right? We evolved without salt shakers on the savannah. So we turn to these salt-conserving machines and desperately, have this desperate urge for salt because it's a vital nutrient, vital mineral. But so the industry can then take it and use that and salt their, processed food and stuff. And look, the reason Coke sells Coke and these processed food industries sell this ultra-processed food, it's not because they want to kill people. It's because of the profit margin. Because corn is so cheap, because it's subsidized. The profit margin on a can of soda is more than almost any other kind of consumer item because the costs are so low to produce it. And it's almost kind of all profit. And so, sugar, these things are so cheap that you can mark up these tremendous, and so you can just make more money this way. So that's just, look, if they could sell their stuff and make people healthy too, I'm sure they'd jump at the opportunity. But the most profitable foods are kind of the least healthy foods, and the foods that they can manipulate to kind of take advantage of our kind of how we were built, kind of how we were designed by nature. They can. That's all they do is they sit around and they find a way to subvert our natural inclinations to do what's best for us, right? It's when you take like cocaine and crack are actually the same molecule. It's actually the same substance, but by concentrating it and delivering faster to the brain, you can get a bigger effect. So the same thing is like sweet potatoes has sugar in it, but no one binges on sweet potatoes, right? But when you concentrate down, or take a sugar beet, concentrate down, and you just have the sugar, that's a totally different reaction in our body, a reaction that we never evolved to be able to handle. So people just really need to understand that they're being manipulated by these industries, and we can kind of reclaim our health by refusing to, be led down this path. I think at a certain level, it's part of the business model. They make it to be as kind of addictive as possible. You can't have one. That's this kind of bliss point phenomenon. That's the whole point, is you need people to come back and buy more of your product. If it didn't, they just wouldn't be viable. And so, that's just kind of, that's what they do. So they realize that sugary and fatty foods have these addictive qualities. What's kind of the definition of addiction is where you continue a behavior that is bad for you, that has negative consequences, but you can't stop yourself from doing it. That's what you see in the kind of the food supply of today. They may not understand the negative consequences until it's too late. So look, you're young, healthy, athletic. You can eat garbage. College students are eating these days, right? But look, you can not gain weight. If you're expending enough calories, you can eat garbage. But, what's happening on the inside? People don't realize, atherosclerosis, by age 10 in this country, most kids have fatty streaks. The first stages of atherosclerosis, their number one killer. And by their 20s and 30s, then we have these actual plaques, and by our 40s and 50s, they start killing us off. But these diseases take decades to grow. People don't understand. The breast cancer they discover in a shower one day, it was not only there yesterday and the week before is likely there for decades. Many breast cancers we think start in the adolescent years. These are slow-growing, these epithelial tumors, these solid tumors, not like leukemias, lymphomas that can actually occur very quickly. But these solid tumors can take decades to grow. And so whether they're growing faster or slower, or whether they're disappearing or not, depends on what we're doing. I mean, how we're living our lives. People don't understand that cancer prevention and treatment can be the same thing. That what we were eating up until diagnosis is either promoting the growth or, hopefully, preventing the growth or reversing the growth. And that's what Ornish went on to show, that he took men with early-stage prostate cancer and was actually able to reverse the progression of their cancer with a whole food, plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle changes. I mean, that's revolutionary. Yet, that's the people continue down the surgery, chemo, radiation route, and I don't think people realize what are the consequences of getting a radical prostatectomy. I mean, these are. But it's interesting. You ask. There's a survey that found that a quarter of men would rather have their lives cut short by more than... So these are men diagnosed with prostate cancer, and asking them about treatment options. And a quarter of the men said that they would choose losing 5 or more years of life than changing their diet. They were like, if we could guarantee you at least 5 more healthy years, but you have to cut down on meat. That was the question that was proposed. They said no, a quarter of men. Now that's, I mean, if a cancer diagnosis isn't going to do it, you wonder what it's going to take. But I think, again, people, they just didn't realize. I mean, if they actually said, okay, let me tell you what cancer means. So let me tell you what a radical prostatectomy means. It means the following. Most men become incontinent, urinary incontinent. Most men become impotent after this. I mean, it's going to radically change your life. Like, people, I don't know. I think people just overestimate the power of modern medicine to kind of heal them. It's just like techno quick fix. Oh, if I get sick, well, then doctors will just heal me. And look, they see broken bones get better. They see really nasty infections cured with a few pills. And they're just like, look, medicine's amazing these days. But for acute conditions, absolutely. But for these chronic conditions, we have very little to offer in terms of actually slowing the progression, stopping the progression, and reversing the disease.